So, hi Aries, my name is Chris and this is your reading for 2026 and I'm doing 12 cards this time, not the Celtic Cross. And the first card is the Strength card. Not fighting the antagonistic energies in 2026. Protecting your peace, right? Being wise. Not taking the bait of any narcissist. There is the Two of Wands, let's just put it here. And there is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant shows up a lot too. That's the spiritual leader. And it's kind of as if you get this Hierophant energy with the Four of Swords, right? That's just a beautiful energy. First row, right? The Strength card. You have done the right thing. You have learned it. You have achieved wisdom, right? Through your actions, right? So you did not take the bait of the narcissist. You did not roll around in the dirt with the pigs, right? In other words, you did not sell your soul to the devil. You did not throw out all of your ideals and values just because it was inconvenient to uphold them, right? That is also the Strength card. And you're looking forward to something, you're anticipating something, and bam, there it is. What is it? The Hierophant energy, right? That's the wise man. That's something that you cultivated here in the past. You're still doing it in 2026, right? Mainly not taking the bait, just being wise, just being zen, just being resting within yourself, right? And not taking any baits of any narcissistic people, and certainly not lowering your frequency. You know, you're not falling for shame, guilt, fear, anger, hatred. That's where they want you. Antagonistic people, narcissistic people, you didn't take the bait. You uphold or upheld your principles, and bam, there you are. The Hierophant, and the Hierophant is doing what the Hierophant does, right? That's the Four of Swords energy. Using his mind wisely. Meditation, breath work, processing, healing energy. And if you heal yourself, right, you're kind of radiating this healing frequency, and that again comes back to you in this role as some sort of spiritual leader, some sort of healer, right? Healer could be a shaman, could be the Pope, could be, I don't know, the Buddha or whatever. But this is someone who went to all the lessons that kind of life just threw at us, right? Or threw at you specifically. And you did not take the bait. You just learned something. And in 2026, you're going to apply this, and people are going to recognize you, standing your ground. It's the Seven of Wands here. Yeah. People are recognizing your wisdom. People are recognizing, oh, when this girl is talking, there's something behind it. You know, it's just empty phrases and nonsense, but your actions and your words are matching, right? That's kind of Hierophant energy. Six of Pentacles, I love this card. The universe is giving you something back if you have... There's underneath the Hierophant, the Ace of Cups. Let's just finish this. The universe is giving you something back. So there is a balancing out effect in 2026, and you're kind of getting the bill, or I don't know, the consequences of what you have been doing during maybe a time of testing in the last 2 years, right? So that looks pretty good because there's self-love, there's self-respect, and the Hierophant had to learn self-respect maybe the hard way, right? So there's this duality of egoism and altruism, right? So helping other people or just being selfish and, So these are two extremes, Egoism is just as bad as being overly altruistic, because if you're just giving, you're kind of neglecting yourself, right? So if you became the Hierophant or becoming the Hierophant through an experience or a learning experience of self-love and self-respect, you were probably giving way too much in the past, right? In the last few years, maybe it's a pattern in your life, right? But the combination of the Hierophant, the spiritual leader, someone who learned a lesson, and then there's the overflowing cup of self-love, self-respect, right? Beautiful energy. And probably the hard way, learned a lesson the hard way, but in 2026, you're implementing that lesson and you're becoming just a very authentic person. Authentic people are kind of the narcissist, the anti-narcissist, so to speak. Authentic people are the anti-narcissists. Why? Because they're just resting within themselves. They love themselves. They respect themselves. They're not just communicating boundaries. They are enforcing boundaries in the sense that they are just not participating in any BS, right? In any pushing other people down thing, That's what the narcissist always does. The narcissist always wants to give himself or herself a false sense of elevation, right? By pushing others down, which is the lowest of the lowest way to do anything, right? Very pitiful, very disgusting, very dishonorable, right? You're not doing that. You didn't do that. Maybe you gave too much in the sense that you were too altruistic. So you had to learn boundaries. You had to learn self-care and self-respect, self-love. Why? Because self-love is the necessary precondition for every other form of love. And in 2026, people might recognize that, right? Because they just see an authentic, real person, right? And you're radiating self-love, self-respect, respect for others, right? But grounded in self-respect, as I said, self-love, self-respect is the necessary precondition for every other form of love, respectively respect, right? So you have to respect yourself first, and then you can respect other people. Otherwise, it's not really working, because the only connection to the divine is always in here, right? Not out there. You can't find God somewhere out there, or the divine, or Buddha, Allah, whatever, Jehovah, It's not out there. It's in here, right? And you're working with that spiritual mastership, or that lesson that you have learned, right? Maybe through endurance, maybe not taking the bait. That was the big trick. You were standing your ground with the Seven of Wands. It might not have been easy, right? Because you were pretty much dealing with highly toxic people here, right? That lion could have eaten you, right? But you tamed the lion. You tamed yourself by not, again, taking on negative energy that is presented to you. There are people who are coming towards you and they bombard you with negative energy. They make you feel ashamed, make you feel insecure, afraid. Low frequency energy, anger, rage, even hatred, right? That's the dark side. That's the freaking dark side. If you just fight fire with fire, you are becoming one of the fire people, right? So to speak. So you cannot win against the forces of the darkness, right? So you have to seek that darkness within yourself in a way and tame it. And that's the Strengths card, right? That lion within yourself, that ferocious animal that is just ripping apart people, right? And you know, that's a predator. That's a dangerous animal, right? Within yourself, right? And the narcissistic people, the antagonistic people, they want to wake that lion, and they want you to join them. You didn't do that. You're certainly not doing it in 2026. You're standing your ground. You're practicing the wisdom of your heart, of self-respect, self-love, and that knowledge that you cannot fight evil with evil. That would just multiply evil. So you have to uphold your principles. You have to be true to yourself. And that way you're standing your ground. Strengths card here. And then you just have to release all the baggage, all that shit you had to take, because if you're learning self-love, that's not an easy lesson, right? Because all these antagonistic people, they don't want you to learn self-love. They want you to learn hatred and anger and manipulation, and you know, that's what they are doing, right? And they want you to join them. Yeah. Page of Swords, by the way. You're no longer naive. You know how the world works. There are tons of narcissistic, antagonistic, bipolar psychopaths out there. That's just how the world is. You can't change the world, but you did change yourself. And in 2026, I see you, first of all, releasing a lot of emotional baggage, negative energy that was kind of thrown at you, bombarded. We were all bombarded with these lower frequencies. Why? Because guilt, fear, shame is a strategy to break people and to make them fall for the dark side, right? And that was the big attempt in the last few years. In 2026, the frequencies, the energies, Ace of Swords, are in our favor. And when I say in our favor, I basically mean authentic, reasonable, sane, compassionate people who are not complete retarded psychopaths, but human beings, right? Who respect themselves and respect others and do not elevate themselves by pushing others down, which is what the narcissist does, which is very despicable and pitiful, actually, right? The Magician. So there is the Hierophant here, and the Hierophant is basically the Magician and the High Priestess rolled into one. Bottom of the deck is the Magician. So what is emphasized here in your role as the spiritual leader, and when I say spiritual leader, it doesn't mean that you become a pope or something like that. No, it just means that people will begin to recognize you as someone who really understands a few things or has deeply learned a few things. Why? Just because of your authenticity, just because you radiate self-love, self-care, self-respect. And naturally, someone who is rooted in self-care, self-love, self-respect, in a transformed consciousness, that's the Ace of Swords here, that's in the third row, so it might come in. I'm not sure if this is, if we can associate these 12 cards with the 12 months. I wouldn't do that. But maybe later that year, in 2026, you're really stepping into that role. Maybe you just recognized, look at that, that's the Ace of Cups, that's the Ace of Swords, and the Hierophant, right? A transformed consciousness. And people will begin to recognize that. And what you can do basically is just install a practice. That's the Four of Swords here. You're going to work with this, right? You're going to really, really work with this. There's the Eight of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups, which is a dream team combination, because this is someone, the Eight of Cups guy, the Nine of Cups guy is someone who is very proud, divine, humble, proud of his talents, right? He's not wearing a crown, he's not sitting on a wooden bench, not a throne, right? But there's divine, humble pride in what it is that he's doing, and he's smiling, right? He's smiling. And by the way, the guy of the Eight of Pentacles is also smiling. So the good work, not hard work, not agonizing, useless 9-to-5 bullshit job, but something that you love to do. What are you loving to do? Well, it's the role that you're taking on in 2026 is, the Hierophant. Working with that to the benefit of yourself, self-love, self-respect. You deserve that. Equal give and take. The universe is giving you something back through stepping into that role, right? Be smart about it. The world is full of toxic people. Don't be naive. Don't invite people into your life who are not worthy of it, right? Only if you trust them, only if they have proven themselves to be worthy, then allow them into your life. There's a lot of healing going on here. Standing your ground, not taking the bait, not catastrophizing, not, guilt, fear, shame, worrying, overthinking energies, hatred, revenge, lust for revenge, things like that. This is where the antagonistic energies want you to be. That's the Lion, basically, with the Strength card. You're standing your ground, nobody can touch you. What you have to do when you step into this role, whatever it is, it might be just a career thing, where you have some sort of, there's some social talent here or social skill, working with other people, being somewhat of service to other people, but again, always having healthy boundaries and always protecting the core of your energy field. Nobody exploits you. You're aware of that. And you can say no and you can enforce boundaries. When I say enforce boundaries, that doesn't just mean to tell people where your boundaries are. That means that you have consequences ready if someone oversteps your boundaries. Then you just say, oh, no, I'm out of here. That's not what we do. You have to create discomfort. That's also part of the Hierophant. The Hierophant is not the lovey-dovey, nice uncle who always says yes to everything, right? He can make people uncomfortable if they misbehave or overstep his boundaries, right? So you have to do the same. That's a form of self-care. To not just clearly communicate your boundaries, but if somebody is overstepping these boundaries, you have to create discomfort for these other people who are doing that. Either you are ending the conversation or you are going out of the situation. But first of all, you should just speak your truth, right? That's also Hierophant energy. That's the Ace of Swords, speaking your truth, right? Certainly the Page of Page of Swords here. And then create some discomfort, by all means. You got this. The Knight of Pentacles clarifying the Strength card. Yeah, you want to go and you're going towards your Hierophant energy with the Page of... and then Page of Wands. Strength card clarifying the Hierophant. So you show that the Strength card is showing up a second time here. The Four of Swords is clarified by the Ace of Pentacles. So you have to do two things, right, in 2026. This Hierophant thing transformation is probably coming on its own almost, right? You just have to keep doing what you're doing. The universe is trying to balancing it out, right? You might have been tested the last few years. In 2026, you're going to receive, and you're stepping up in whatever way someone who is looked up to as the grown-up in the room. You know, people ask for advice, and more on the spiritual side, right? There's wisdom, but there's wisdom in action, and people are recognizing that you're not just pretending to be that, but there's a deeper. You got the Ace of Pentacles here, but the clarifier as well. So you got 3 aces here, just saying, yeah. So yes, right? Can we just for a moment, yes, right? These are 3 aces and the Hierophant, right? Just saying. So people are going to recognize that why authenticity just radiates itself. You know, you don't need to advertise it. It just shines through. Eventually, might have taken a few years, maybe. You have been tested. So you know that. Don't take the bait of any narcissists. Understand that they want you. They want drama. They don't want to win the fight. They want the fight to continue. They want the back and forth conversation. Oh, you said, he said, she said, blah, blah, blah. Back and forth all the time. Drama, drama, drama. That's their heaven. That's what they like, right? They're pigs, and they like to roll around with you in the dirt, and they want you to come down there to them. Guilt, fear, shame, anger, rage, frustration, right? All that jazz, right? You're not taking the bait. You're taming your inner impulse to do that, because we're not immune to anger, right? The Hierophant is not negating anything. The Hierophant is transcending and integrating. Total different story. So we're not immune to anger. We're not immune to guilt, fear, shame, all that jazz, right? But we can recognize it within ourselves and then release it, right? And really make a conscious decision out of self-love, inspired by self-love, inspired by self-respect, and inspired by discernment and wisdom, that these frequencies, if we fuel them with energy, they will not work for us. They will work against us. So in that sense, you're standing your ground and you're making it a daily practice. I'm talking about mindfulness here, basically. But I could also talk about there is something to release. Healing has to happen in 2026. So install, by all means, a practice of meditation, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can do. If you have never meditated, just do it for 5 minutes. Just sit there and shut up, right? Which is, if you've never done it, it's not easy, right? It's simple, but not easy, right? And then what I always recommend when the 8 of Cups shows up, so there's some negative energy within you, and you have to release that. You have to release that because you want to heal yourself. And releasing it means basically that you literally, do some breath work. You breathe in 5 seconds and then you breathe out 10 seconds. And then you just really push it out. You can test that basically. Stop the time, right? With your phone or whatever. And how long can you comfortably, if you breathe in, and how long does it take till the last bit is out, right? You should be a little bit uncomfortable at the very last second. but don't overdo it. You know, overall, it should be doable. It should be somewhat comfortable, but it's really important that you press out the last little bit of air. And you do that for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, if you like, right? If you can do that, because this is really the antidote to all that mindfuck energy that we were bombarded with during the last few years, right? So you can unmindfuck you with breath work. Do that, install a practice. That's part of your Hero Fun journey here. Meditation, breath work. 1 in, sorry, very important. 1 in, 2 out. 1 in, 2 out. 5 seconds in, 10 seconds out. If you can do 10 seconds in and 20 seconds out, by all means do that. But release something, release negative energy and really push it out through these breathing exercises. You can do that to stabilize yourself. Again, standing your ground, clarified by the 4 of Swords. Beautiful energy and very confirmation, and a confirmation here. Showing up the second time, by the way, 2 times the Strength card, 2 times the 4 of Swords. 6 of Pentacles. Yay! There's a celebration. 3 of Cups. I like that. Yeah, it's about time the energy change in the favor of the sane people who have, decency and compassion and all these jazz that nobody cared about in the last few years, obviously. 2 of Pentacles, right? So there is work involved here at the end. You're stepping into this new role, and then you have to work and create something or show up in that role and really work on it. But since it is kind of is that your lifetime role, with 2026 is going to be a big year energy wise, right? It's the first year in which the bullshit frequencies of the old paradigm are subsiding, and the new system with its frequency is finally stronger than the old one. So this might be an important year for you. And then you work in relation to that new role that you're taking on. Inspired, I say it again, by self-love, self-respect, clear boundaries, and you have to be strong enough to not just be lovey-dovey, everybody's darling. If somebody oversteps there must be a consequence. If somebody oversteps your boundaries, there must be a consequence, and you must be capable and willing to make people feel uncomfortable and call them out if they overstep your boundaries. There's this 9 of Swords energy with the 8 of Cups. That's what you have to release, Overthinking energy, worrying, down in frequency, that needs to be released. Queen of Cups with the Page of Swords. Then we got, a new consciousness born out of mindfucks. That's the 7 of Swords guy. That's the narcissist of the tarot deck, clarifying your new consciousness. Maybe you had to go through that to learn how to, make people uncomfortable if they overstep your boundaries. That is not necessarily coming natural to people who tend to be super nice and giving. And then we have a combination. 2 cards come out. You got the 5 of Pentacles and the 6 of Pentacles. So you went through a dark night of the soul when not much did happen in your favor, maybe. 6 of Pentacles 2 times, the second times. We get 2 times the 4 of Swords, 2 times the Strength cards, and 2 times 6 of Pentacles. It changes in your favor, even Pentacles wise. There's wealth, abundance, and prosperity, but you have to work for it. Great potential in that regard, and the universe is on your favor, and it might not have been on your favor the last few years. And the big key here, the last card joy, divine humble pride in what it is that you're doing. And what it is that you're doing in 2026 is this super authentic, not just knowing your shit, but you're just radiating authenticity and healing. You're a healer. Maybe you're a healer. Could you be in some sort a healer? And healers can show up in all. You don't need to be grandiose, right? We got these symbols. These are symbols, basically, right? The Hierophant is a symbol for someone who is just living authentically and radiating healing from within, because that's just his inner frequency. And this inner frequency was cultivated and forged through not so easy times, right? And just whatever it is, it doesn't need to be grandiose, right? You don't need a great job title. You don't need to become the Pope or the Buddha or whatever. You just do what you can where you are with what you've got. And you are going to naturally step into a role where your wisdom and all these beautiful frequencies that you cultivated within yourself, Ace of Cups, Ace of Swords, hello, are just shining, right? And whatever that means for you. Could be a job, could be a role in your family, could be whatever. But that cultivation of the inner frequency, that hard lesson of self-love that you have learned, is just coming out and radiating. And it is connected to work, Eight of Pentacles with the Nine of Cups, and work that you love, because it's just an expression of who you are. And that's beautiful. Yeah, and the unmindfuck practice of 2026 is letting stupid people win arguments. And there are stupid people who just don't get it, and then there are just toxic, narcissistic people. Seven of Swords here. Let's just put it here to the Seven of Swords guy, because someone might test you. And let them talk, let them be assholes, let them be low frequency, buzzing, little retarded, fascist, fundamentalistic psychopaths. You just rise and do your thing, and if it's not the right place for you, if it's not the right people for you, then you know, they're out there and you will find them and you will attract them by just being authentically you, caring for yourself, loving yourself, and you radiating that you're radiating that frequency. When you make peace with the world, you make peace with yourself. That's true. And that's kind of the same frequency here. Train yourself to let stupid people win arguments. And by that, you cannot change these people. You cannot educate these people. If they are ready, they will find someone and work on themselves. But it's not your duty to make them work on yourself. It's not your duty to correct them. Maybe they don't even want to be corrected. Maybe they don't understand even what they are saying, right? They just want you to, would you come down to us here into the dirt and roll around with us? Because that's what we do, right? That's what they want. Don't let them win. Just say yes and shrug your shoulders. Don't sign any contracts and don't say yes if you mean no and something like that. But, just let them. Let them. Let's just use this one. If you hate a person, you hate something in him that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't disturb us. Hermann Hesse, by the way. So if someone is able to trigger you, guilt, fear, shame, there's something within you that is not fully healed, that is responsive to these triggers. That's why you create guilt, fear, shame within yourself, right? That's what the narcissist perfectionized, right? The narcissist is a master in looking or smelling, I think they smell it almost, weaknesses or insecurities, right? And instead of attacking whoever points to your insecurity, ask yourself, okay, why is this here? How can I heal that within myself so that I don't even react to that trigger anymore, right? So you heal it within yourself. If you hate a person, you hate something in him that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't disturb us. Hermann Hesse. And that's very, very true, right? And the narcissist is constantly trying to trigger you to get a reaction out of you that lowers your frequency. Because he needs you to come down to him, because he is absolutely incapable to coming up towards you. The only way for the narcissist to give himself a false sense of elevation is to push others down. Very pitiful. But these people are there. You're not going to change that. And you shouldn't even try to change it. You just be authentically yourself and everything will fall into place. Healing, like it, 29. I'm going to read this because it's really beautiful. Peace, inner peace, right? The narcissist is trying to disturb your inner peace. Don't let anybody disturb your inner peace. Breathwork, meditation, long walks, sport, yoga, fitness, whatever you do, center yourself, ground yourself, protect your inner peace. And yeah, then you, burped a little, then you just radiate that frequency, right? That's 29, the Blue Angel Oracle deck. Accept life as it brings peace and healing. You can start to heal yourself and our planet through acceptance. Yeah, acceptance does not mean giving up on improving things. It simply means acknowledging that there may be a higher purpose, even though we do not see it. Peace is possible now, whatever your circumstances. Peace will never be any more or less possible than it is now. Life will continue its course, driven by a higher will than our own. Little we do will ever change that. And yet, when we change our perception of our circumstances and surroundings, it makes a difference. Hope and fear cannot occupy the same space. Invite one to stay. Maya Angelou. Healing, right? Taking the bait of the narcissist, rolling around in the dirt with them. No, that's a decision. Choose peace, elevate yourself, don't push others down, and just avoid people who do that, who push others down, right? They're the lowest of the lowest, and they had their ball in the last few years. I'm recording this end of 2025. I don't know where you have been, but yeah. And that's all I got, and I hope it resonates with you, and if it does, share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it, and hopefully see you next time. Now, my friend. Ciao.